Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Utterance. By now, you all know that we deal with well defined social problems and collective strategies to solve them. Viewers, it's a generous way to encourage sincere content by liking, sharing, and subscribing. So hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to welcome good content. Today we have with us Shorbori Sen Pathak. She is an IT professional and works in the capacity of an instructional designer. She loves to cook, travel, and has recently developed her enthusiasm for gardening. Shorbori will walk us through her life and consequently discuss a few relevant issues about the infertility journey. She believes it's time for infertility to come out of the closet. Shorbori, welcome to Utterance.
Hi, Lumbini. I hope you're doing well.
Yes. Okay, Shorbori, it's widely held expectation that if and when we choose to, we will be able to have a family. Why don't you share your story with us? Tell us how did it all start for you and what is your way forward? I'm sure your journey will surely inspire so many of us.
So, just like any other woman, obviously, I've always wanted to have a child. I have always been very fond of children. So, I got married back in 2013. Back then, I was in my 20s. My husband is in his early 30s. And of course, it was an arranged marriage for us. So, we didn't want to rush into it. We wanted to give it time. We were still settling down in our careers. And I was like, at least I was taking my career very seriously. I wanted to give it time. My husband was very understanding, very supportive. So we gave it a couple of years time. In 2016, we casually started planning that maybe it's time. Maybe we can think about having a child now. Maybe we can, extend our family. So we consulted a doctor. I already had a long-standing issue of PCOS. So I was on hormonal pills for a long time then, almost 7.5 years. So our immediate reaction was meeting a doctor. So at that point, everything was fine. She said, like, you guys just need to take it easy, just relax, and maybe take life a little less seriously. And it all started that way. After that, I won't say we were trying very desperately. We started casually. The first try didn't work, the second try didn't work, and eventually we started getting a little worried. So this went on for quite a few years, 3 years to be precise. And then my sister, who's 9 years elder to me, she's seen through a lot more in life than me. She has a lot of friends who had been fighting similar issues. So she put me in touch with this very experienced doctor in Kolkata. And she asked me to consult him once. She said, I know you guys are not taking it very seriously, and you guys want to take it easy, but maybe you want to find out what the root cause of the issue is. So we consulted Dr. Bani Metro back in Kolkata. This was in early 2019. So he follows very set line of treatment. He got a number of tests done, and that's when we found out that my using capacity of my ovaries, it has decreased substantially. Like at that point, my capacity was not like it was worse than a menopausal woman. And while getting to the root cause of the issue, we found out that, since I mentioned earlier, I already had a long-standing issue of PCOS right from school. So I used to have very painful, cycles. And in one such cycle, I used to take very strong painkillers. I lost consciousness, and it happened as like the same thing was repeated in the next cycle. My parents got worried. They took me to the hospital, and upon going there, the doctor said, I am a patient of polycystic ovarian syndrome, and he needs to, do a laparoscopic surgery on my ovaries so that he can rupture all the cysts. Back then, we didn't have so much of Google and internet and information at just a click of a button. So obviously, we trusted the doctor. He went forward with it. He performed a cystectomy on my left ovary and a drilling on my right ovary. And apparently, this was the reason that he ended up destroying half my egg reserves. That was not supposed to be done. That surgery was not supposed to be performed on a 20-year-old lady who had no plans of getting married, who had no plans of having a child. She was just, in her college. So I like I don't know what the doctor was thinking, but today where I am is the consequence of that wrong action. But I still haven't given up hope. I am undergoing treatment, and hopefully and eventually, I think I should be able to overcome this.
Yeah, no, I'm not on mute. Sharburi, some couples will conceive naturally in time, but for those who do not, the pain and loss can be immense and have a sudden and significant negative impact on relationships. When you are
Yes.
when you are dealing with infertility, directly or indirectly, every aspect of your life is impacted by it. Can you talk about it a bit?
So, of course, I mean, as I mentioned, when we started trying, we were not very serious about it. And, whenever we visited a family function or whenever there was a wedding in the family, obviously these questions would crop up. You've been married for quite some years. Aren't you considering having a child? And we would say, yes, in good time. We are trying. It will happen. This obviously the frequency of the questions kept increasing as time went by. Thankfully, I had a very supportive mother-in-law. She left us last year, and an immensely supportive husband who's always had my back. He never allowed any of his relatives to kind of drill me and question me for this. He kept it very simple. He kind of made it very transparent that we have issues, we are dealing with it, and whenever there is news, you guys will get to hear. But coming back to the point that some couples conceive naturally and some don't, and the pain and the struggles associated with it. Of course, I mean, in the age of social media, whenever you open your social media account and you see, a volley of, posts so saying, your friends, your relative, your people in your circle, they have conceived, they have had babies. Obviously, you think, why can't it happen to me? Why can't I have a baby naturally? But frankly speaking, when I went on with this journey and when I spoke to a lot of people around me, what I found out was it is hardly easy for anyone these days. I don't know, maybe it is because of our lifestyle, maybe it is because of this kind of stress that is associated with our jobs, our careers, that our previous generation didn't have to deal with in a lot of instances, that, a lot of women these days, they're experiencing these sort of issues. A lot of people in my known circle, they're experiencing these sort of issues. Here, what is most important is having a very supportive partner. In this case, I have been immensely lucky. A lot of people, I'm sure, are not this lucky. They are folks, they are kind of, called names by the family members. They are not given the kind of support they require. It is a very painful journey for a woman, both physically and mentally, because of the number of medicines we have put on, the number of pinpricks we'll have to deal with, the number of jabs we'll have to face, we'll have to handle in our private parts. So it is a very difficult journey, and mentally it is exhausting. The medicines have immense impact on your body. They make you moody, they make you cranky, they made you fatigued. So it is very important that you have the right support from your family members.
Infertility is a multi-layered and complex phenomena, and several issues are involved for people living with it, as it spans the biological, emotional, physical, social, financial, and psychological aspects of lives and relationships. How do you cope with the emotional ups and downs of fertility treatments? Let's talk about the side effects. Let's talk about the budget that it involves, now that you must have researched already on these topics.
Of course. I'll talk about the psychological effect first, then I'll come to the budget, of course, which is very important. So the psychological effect, as I mentioned, these are all hormonal medicines that you're put on. Some medicine, it's given to you so that you can ovulate, naturally, and your eggs are released naturally. So, I'm sorry, I'm mentioning naturally, because it is given to you because it's not happening naturally. It is kind of inducing these changes in you. And since these are all hormonal upheavals, you can very well understand, what kind of havoc it wreaks on your body. There have been times in my life, I already have another disease called fibromyalgia, which is a neurological disorder. It sends all kinds of wrong pain signals in your body. So like my pain threshold is anyway lesser than any other average human being. So you can understand, anyway, suffering from fibromyalgia and dealing with the side effects of these hormonal medicines, it is an immense task. And as I mentioned, it is imperative that you have adequate amount of support from your family members and a circle of friends around you. In my case, I have been extremely lucky in most cases where my friends have reached out to me, they've called me, they've spent time, they've spoken to me. Now, my husband have spent hours talking to me, trying to console me, trying to motivate me. Just the previous week, I had a negative pregnancy test, so he spent the whole day pampering me, getting me everything at my fingertips. So this is the kind of support system a woman needs when she's fighting such an impossible battle. Coming to the cost of it, of course, it is, you have to keep in mind that this is an expensive treatment. So, an average IUI cycle, only the procedure can cost you somewhere in between 6,500 to 10,000 per sitting. Apart from that, you have medication, you have a diet to follow, you have, the other procedures, the scans that has to happen every second, third day of your cycles to check your ovulation, to see how your follicles are developing. So an average cycle of IUI would cost you somewhere around 10 to 15,000. Apart from that, if your IUI fails, you move to IVF, where one cycle of IVF can cost you somewhere between $1.5 lakh. So you have to be financially prepared. I'm sure, like even a couple of years back, we wouldn't be able to afford this kind of treatment. We have progressed in our careers. We are being able to afford it now by God's grace, by God's and our seniors' blessings in the family, that we have been able to come to that position where we are able to afford this treatment. Every month, we are shelling out a considerable amount of money, along with it, investing ourselves emotionally, physically into it, so that we have a positive outcome out of it.
Sharbori, it's an emotional roller coaster for couples who live in month-to-month cycles of hope and disappointment as they navigate a tight schedule of appointments, tests, and treatments, which place their lives on hold. Prolonged fertility problems may invade every area of life, eroding self-confidence and straining friendships. Infertility can quite simply be devastating. And amusingly enough, people in the outside world may have no clue at all what you and your partner is psychologically going through. What kind of gesture or support or mistreatment did you get from your family and friends?
So in between, I had gained a lot of weight and I had developed a very bad tummy. So one look at me would give people a misconception that I'm pregnant. I used to get a lot of DMs, a lot of comments on my photographs that congratulations, when are you due? Or people would ping me and ask me, hey, so you're pregnant finally. So, and telling them, giving them an explanation that no, I'm not pregnant, that's only belly fat. And it's just an unhealthy belly fat that I've developed due to not exercising, due to a sedentary lifestyle. It's not a good news. Like, people like to refer this particular news of having a baby as if there are no other good newses in life. It's only a baby that can bring good news in your life. But yes, that is a little frustrating at times. That is the reason, I personally chose to put it out in the open. I have fertility issues. Don't ask me whether I'm pregnant or not. When I am pregnant, you guys will get to know. So it is very, frustrating for me to answer every one of you and tell you I'm not pregnant. Please don't congratulate me. It is frustrating. So that is one thing I had to deal with, of course. And as I mentioned, family, I dread family functions. Whenever I go to family functions, you have this question of, hey, what happened? You've been married for quite some time now. No children? Okay. Or people will not even bother asking whether you have children. How many years have you been married? 7 years? Okay, where are your children? I don't have any. So, of course, these are things we have to deal with. But, as I mentioned, my husband kind of safeguards me, especially from my in-law side. But as I mentioned again, I have very supportive in-laws. In fact, I have kind of been coaxed more by my mother that, why aren't you having a child? Why are you taking your career so seriously? But my mother-in-law has never asked me, like, why aren't you having a child? Or when am I going to get to see my grandchildren? I'll regret it for the rest of my life that my mother-in-law had to leave us all without seeing her grandchildren. But at the same time, and the immense support that I've received from her throughout, I can never forget that.
Many people keep their feelings and struggles with infertility under wraps. For those that don't have trouble having babies, it's puzzling and difficult to understand why it was so difficult for someone else. Fertile people often incorrectly believe that maybe someone just isn't trying hard enough, or maybe they are trying too hard and need to relax. And that's why many people with infertility don't discuss it. They want to hide their shame and avoid judgment from people who think getting pregnant is easy for everyone. And it's not. Do you think the thoughts related to infertility are constant in nature? How should society not add up to it?
The best thing society can do is not judge. Mm-hmm. Judgment is free in our country and people pass it very easily. And social media has given everyone the right to judge. So, you post a problem, people come up with 10 suggestions, 10 solutions, which you might not be looking for. You might just be venting out your frustration. You might not be looking at suggestions at all. So, until and unless I'm approaching you for a suggestion, I'm asking you personally that, can you give me a suggestion? Can you suggest a doctor? Can you suggest a treatment? Can you suggest some kind of, some process that will kind of make me relax? You conceive so easily. Can you help me with tips? Until and unless I'm doing that personally, or for that any woman struggling with infertility is doing it personally, don't poke your nose and don't add to their woes, is what I feel. Not many people need your advice, and at times people are just tired of those pieces of advice. That is the reason they don't open up. They don't want everyone to pry on your personal life, on your private life, and ask you, why you're not conceiving? Is there anything wrong? Okay, have you been trying too hard? Maybe you just take a break for some time. Maybe at times we just don't need advice. At times when we definitely want to talk about it, we reach out to you, we are talking about it, then your advice is welcome. Otherwise, your unwarranted advice is just not welcome. In a lot of instances, people have asked me, why don't you try for adoption? Maybe I will after I have exhausted all my options. But I don't need that suggestion at this point when I'm trying with my heart and soul to have a child of my own. So I think that is one reason that people just fear judgment and people fear unwarranted, unsolicited advices, that people don't come out in the open.
Many people on the verge of anxiety deem it unfair that others who are not taking care of themselves were getting pregnant while they were making major lifestyle changes to increase their chances of becoming pregnant. And people in their close circuit often draw this kind of examples which seem more belittling. What are your thoughts on that?
So, that's the thing. You don't know what a person is going through. So maybe a person who is very healthy, but, healthy in the sense, we have a separate definition of healthy in our country. If you're fat, if you have a lot of fat, then you're healthy. If you are, losing weight, then your parents will ask you, what are you doing? Aren't you eating? Why are you, looking so unhealthy? So the definition of healthy is a little different in our society. So people who are, a little on the heavier side, a little flabby, maybe they have very easy lives. Maybe they don't have stress. Maybe they have things easy in their life. Not everyone is that lucky. Everyone, they are fighting their own personal battles apart from infertility. So infertility is a consequence. I think it's a lifestyle choice. It's a consequence of a lot of things adding up inside your body. It's your stress levels. It's the way you're leading your life. It's the food you're taking. It's how you've led your life, how you've lived your life till that point in your life. It all adds up to something. It is also genetic. Some people have this problem in their family. So, someone conceiving easily, even by not taking care of herself, and someone trying hard, like in my case, when I started my struggle, I used to be around 70. I brought my weight down to 56. Again, with these treatments, with these hormonal injections, pills, I have gained some weight once again. So in spite of losing those 14 kilos, in spite of bringing major changes in my life, I still haven't been able to conceive. So it's not that, losing weight will make you pregnant instantly, and being fat will, hinder your pregnancy or your chances of getting pregnant. It's not that. It's just that, it's your lifestyle choice, it's your body. Each person has a different, kind of body that reacts differently under different circumstances. Someone's pain threshold or stress threshold is pretty high, someone's is pretty low, and everybody reacts in its own way. So we can't, kind of judge and say, like, this person has not made any conscious changes in her life, but in spite of that, she has conceived. This person has, but in spite of that. So lifestyle changes does not matter. You have to, if you want to make lifestyle changes, if you want to lose weight, if you want to lead a healthy life, it's your choice. It's not a, it kind of doesn't add up to you getting pregnant or not.
And Sharburi, the journey towards fertility is a very lonely battle. Would you like to share some positive aspirational opinions with people who might be closeted about it?
So it is a very lonely battle, but I would encourage people to come out and talk about it, because you don't know how many people are fighting this lonely battle. Once I started speaking about it, on social media, like through some posts, I have had people DM me personally, sharing their stories with me, sharing their struggles with me. I don't know, like maybe people feel comfortable that, someone fighting the same impossible and lonely battle can kind of empathize with me a little more than someone who just doesn't relate and can't step into our shoes. So I would request people to be a little more open about it, to talk about it. As I mentioned, like, there are ways of shutting people out whose advice you don't seek. You can just very politely tell them that, I don't want to talk about it right now. But then there are people who will reach out to you. I mean, it makes me emotional at times that, people have reached out to me. They have prayed in temples for me. They have, kind of told me that they're remembering my prayers. They light candles for me. It makes me very emotional about the kind of people who are connected to me. They're not with me physically. They are far away from me. But in spite of that, they remember me in their prayers. They pray for me. They go to temples and remember that, she is going through the struggle. I will remember her in my prayers. So it is very encouraging when you see such people and such support system around you. But to develop that, you have to, come out in the open. You have to kind of be vocal about it. You have to reach out. And there are not there are always two sides of the coin. If there is a society ready to judge you, there is also a section that will kind of, help you and, support you in your struggles.
The World Health Organization recognizes infertility as a physical illness that requires treatment, yet society doesn't. There's still a long way to go, and we need to move with the times and raise much more awareness of the pain of infertility, because it's not going away. The more people put their names and faces to this disease, the more our society will understand the scale and impact of the problem. It's time for infertility to come out of the closet. Thank you, Sharburi, for doing your part in breaking the taboo related to infertility by opening up and talking so boldly about it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lumbini.